Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to slice through the complexity and give you the foundational knowledge you can use, well, immediately. And today we are getting into a problem that I think every single language learner knows. It's that feeling, it's exhausting.
Hmm.
You're in a conversation, it's moving fast, and you feel that internal friction, the delay.
A bottleneck.
The bottleneck, yes. You're hearing English, but then you're mentally translating it back to your native language, thinking of a reply there, and then translating that back into English.
It's this grueling calculation.
It is. It turns a simple conversation into this huge multi-step problem.
And if we look at the source material for today, they frame that translation process as the fundamental flaw. It's not just a small delay. It's the thing that prevents fluency.
Right.
We use this great analogy. It's like trying to navigate a new city, but for every single turn, you have to stop the car, pull out a map, look it up in one language,
Yeah.
and then rewrite the directions in another.
You'd never get anywhere.
You'd never get anywhere.
Yeah.
It just interrupts the entire flow of the journey.
I love that analogy. It perfectly visualizes that friction. And getting rid of that friction is exactly what our source material is all about. It's an analysis of a really unique coaching program, one dedicated entirely to mastering the mindset of direct English thinking. So our mission in this deep dive is to pull out the practical, the step-by-step guidance. We want to know how you can actually rewire your brain to skip that translation step and think directly in English.
And this is so critical because we're not just talking about learning more vocabulary or, fixing your accent. We're
Yeah.
talking about changing the thinking process itself,
The operating system.
the operating system.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you can get rid of that internal friction, fluency just, it becomes a natural byproduct. The real question is, how do you change that default setting in your brain?
That's what we're going to unpack. We'll get into the surprising power of using really simple English thoughts, how to use mental pictures, and the specific kind of inner dialogue you need to make English feel seamless.
What's really interesting in this analysis is how they approach the learner. It's not this rigid academic exercise. It's more like a systematic training program for your brain,
For automaticity.
for automaticity.
Mm.
It recognizes that your brain is already running this inner monologue, right,
Mhm.
all day long. We just need to hijack that system for English.
Okay, so let's start there. We accept that the translation trap is what's slowing us down. Where does the training actually begin? The source is really clear on this, and honestly, it kind of contradicts what a lot of learners try to do.
Right.
It says that thinking in English has to start with simple thoughts, not these complex, grammatically perfect sentences.
Well, think about the cognitive load. I mean, if you try to translate a really complex, nuanced thought, your working memory just gets overloaded.
You freeze.
You freeze, and you default right back to your native language to finish the thought. So you fail, and you just end up reinforcing the old habit.
But if you simplify,
But if you simplify, if you just label what you're seeing or hearing or feeling, you succeed instantly. And you're connecting that sensory input, that image of a tree or that feeling of being tired, directly to the English word. You're building a new neural pathway that bypasses the translation center completely.
so it's about reducing the cognitive load to basically zero, so the new habit has a chance to form.
Exactly.
That completely reframes the starting line. It's not about perfection. It's about establishing a successful habit, even a tiny one.
Mm-hmm.
So if simplicity is the rule, where does the source say we should actually, practice this? Where do we put this simple English to work?
It's all about the inner dialogue. The practical application is using that inner English for your most common, mundane, daily activities.
Like what?
Anything. You're basically replacing the constant internal narration you already have, the one in your native language,
Yeah.
with a simple English one. And crucially, it has to be low stakes.
Meaning no one else hears it.
Right. There's zero fear of making a mistake, so you can just practice.
This is where the coaching program in the source gets really tactical. It doesn't just say think in English. It gives 3 specific mental exercises you can start doing like right now.
The building blocks.
The building blocks for that new English operating system. So the first exercise is describing your daily actions in basic English words. It's like a running commentary.
And the key here is brevity. Action
Mhm.
focus. If you're making breakfast, you don't narrate a whole recipe. You just think, I stand up, I open the fridge, milk is cold, I pour coffee.
Short, simple declarative sentences.
Yes, you're linking the action you're performing to the English structure in real time.
Okay, that makes sense. Then the second exercise is describing your surroundings. Basically, mentally labeling the world around you.
Pure object association. You're looking out the window, waiting for something, and you just start labeling. Tree is green, sky is light, cloud is moving slow, the pavement is wet.
You're deliberately bypassing that moment where your brain would normally grab the native word first.
You're training your brain to retrieve the English word directly when it sees the object. It's a direct link.
And then the third core exercise is describing your feelings, your immediate internal state.
This one is so important for actual conversation, right?
Yes.
Because feelings are what we talk about all the time.
Totally.
So instead of analyzing why you're tired in your native language, you just label it in English. I feel tired, or I'm getting hungry. I am relaxed now. It internalizes those fundamental phrases.
I find this whole methodology fascinating because it moves all the practice inside your own head. But let me just challenge it for a second.
Go for it.
If you're just focusing on these simple, repetitive phrases, I am walking, the car is fast, doesn't that get boring? Or don't you feel like you're stuck in beginner mode forever?
That's a really important question, and the source actually addresses it directly. The goal of this early stage, this repetitive stage, isn't about complex vocabulary. It's structural training.
Ah,
You're training the neural pathways to open directly to English. Once that foundation is solid, then you can add complexity really, really quickly. But you can't build the second floor if you haven't even poured the slab.
right. You need the foundation first.
And they also emphasize that you should integrate this inner dialogue into your mundane, low-focus activities while you're walking or commuting or just waiting in line.
So it doesn't feel like studying.
Exactly. Because you're doing something else, it doesn't feel like this boring chore. It's just a small automatic habit that's constantly training your brain almost subconsciously.
The beauty of that is the cumulative effect. You're not trying to find an extra hour in your day. You're just using the 5 or 10 minutes you already spend waiting for the bus and turning that passive time into active training.
That's it. It minimizes the perceived effort. And to make that narration even more functional, we need to look at the specific linguistic tools the source recommends.
The internal vocabulary.
Yeah, the vocabulary for managing your own thoughts.
This is where we get into what the source calls the mental process vocabulary. These are specific verbs that help you structure that mental shift. Words like think, imagine, notice, decide, remember.
These are the scaffolding. You see, learners often struggle because they're trying to translate whole concepts. But by using these metacognitive verbs, you force the thought into an English structure from the very beginning.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So instead of just having the thought, I should buy milk, which might just pop up in your native language,
Right.
you actively narrate it with the scaffolding. I remember I need milk. I decide I will go to the store now. I imagine the path I will take. You're actually building the idea using English syntax.
That makes so much more sense. The instruction isn't a negative don't translate. It's a positive use these tools to bypass translation.
Precisely.
So beyond this functional vocabulary, the source also stresses internalizing some specific fluency building phrases. You can't just use single words forever.
That's right. While the early stage is simple, the source encourages repeating high-frequency phrases. We use some already, but also things like, I need to focus, or I wonder why the bus is late.
These little chunks of language.
Little chunks. The repetition of these short sentences and core structures, it's all designed for clarity, for fluency. It makes your brain comfortable with basic English syntax. So when you do speak, the sentence formation is already automatic.
You stop building sentences piece by piece.
And you start retrieving them as prepackaged units.
So just to recap the process, I'm describing my immediate actions, I'm labeling my surroundings, and I'm using that mental process vocabulary to structure any plans or thoughts, all in short, functional English.
And this leads to a really powerful dual benefit that the source identifies. While you're retraining your brain to think directly in English, you are also simultaneously improving your listening skills.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that connection. How does internal narration help with external comprehension?
Well, the coaching program suggests that the English you use for this internal training should be slow, clear, and repetitive. It should match the pace of clear spoken English.
Okay.
And when you continuously produce this clear internal English, you're basically building an auditory template in your mind.
So when someone speaks to you,
When someone speaks to you externally, your brain now has this very clear, comfortable rhythm and pattern to match it against. You start understanding external speech faster because your internal system is already running on the same frequency.
So the faster your internal speed gets, the better you can handle faster external speech.
That's exactly it.
I get it now. It builds that internal clock for English. It helps you recognize the cadence, the rhythm, all the stuff that usually trips up listeners who are still translating word by word.
Precisely. And if we zoom out to the really big conclusion, the most powerful takeaway the source provides, it's the reframing of this entire challenge. Thinking in English is not some mysterious talent. It's not reserved for people who lived abroad for 10 years. It is a skill.
A trainable skill.
A trainable skill that anyone can learn with the right approach and, deliberate practice.
That's a huge gift to any learner who feels stuck or intimidated. That feeling of being slow is just a symptom of using the wrong process translation and not mastering the skill of direct thought. It puts the ownership right back in your hands.
And that ownership is everything. Because you don't need a partner or a tutor to practice this core skill. You just need the discipline to dedicate your existing inner monologue to simple English thoughts throughout the day.
Recognizing that every single time you just label an object in English, you're strengthening that mental muscle.
You're doing a rep.
A rep. I like that. So, to synthesize this whole deep dive for you, the listener, we have 3 core steps from this analysis. First, you have to acknowledge the translation trap is the friction point and just commit to breaking the habit.
Second, you have to start small. Simple thoughts. Your surroundings, your feelings, your actions. Forget complexity. Focus on high-frequency, low-stakes labeling.
And third, actively use that mental process vocabulary we talked about. Think, imagine, notice, decide, remember as the internal scaffolding for your daily inner dialogue. This is how you go from just knowing English to actually living in English.
This is how you finally start running that English operating system.
So here's the final provocative thought to leave you with, based on the power of this method. If fluency really is built on these small, repetitive, daily habits of inner dialogue, how dramatically could you improve your fluency just by dedicating the first 5 minutes of every single morning right when you wake up to describing your immediate environment? Just describe the room, the first thing you drink, your plan for the next 10 minutes. Use only the simple English words you already know. No dictionary, no complex sentences, just 5 minutes of quiet, simple, internal narration. Try it tomorrow. Start training your mind today and start building that skill of direct thought.